Oh yeah, he's back. The crack of the bat, the ping of the crossbar, and the roar of the crowd. We cover everything you want to talk about. It's the Rod Pedersen Show.
Hey, good day, Canada. Good morning, Western Canada. Good afternoon, Eastern Canada. And to Canadian sports fans around the world, welcome to the Rod Pedersen Show. It is what we call a Football Friday. And if I may, I'll just tell you that I'm Rod and he's Darren, and producer Clark is on the other side of the room. Our director Jordan's over here, and our technical producer Ryan, and Paul's flitting around here somewhere. You got all hands on deck today for a very big show. But can I, Darren, before I go any further, tell our viewers and listeners something?
Yeah.
Lower your expectations. Because I'm getting these messages from all across the land saying, ho, 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 the show's going to be on fire. It's going to be crazy on Friday. It's on fire and crazy every day. So we can handle that. But as far as what's going down with the CFL, and is the CFL going down? I don't know what you want. We're going to sit here and talk about it. My inbox is full. I don't know about yours. My DMs. People are sliding into my DMs. You wouldn't believe. It's a hall of fame of who's who.
Yeah.
You know. Can you please explain to me why you're supporting the CFL getting funding from Ottawa? Shouldn't be that hard, you know, but that's a lot of what the show's going to be today, because that's what everybody's talking about across the land.
Yeah.
Coming up on the show today, by the way, Hall of Fame Rough Riders broadcaster John Frenzy. 3-4 weeks running now, he's been the rock star of the day, as voted on by you, the viewers, and he is ready to go from his South Regina palatial estate with his thoughts on all of this. Dave Winter here from Canuck Play video game, CFL video game, a little later on. He'll talk about that. He's the guy behind the Flutie video game, is he not?
I think so,
that's what I thought. And then the heavy hitters in hour two. Sportsnet's Arash Madani. Jim Lang, Canada's foremost NFL insider, because amid all of this, the NFL did announce its schedule last night, and we are now eyeballs deep in planning our RP show VIP sports trip to Miami or Tampa Bay. But before I jump into the quick six show topics and all the rest, how are you, Darren?
I'm doing good.
Good.
Yeah, doing really good. You know, on that, you know, everybody's talking about planning the trip. The one thing I'll say, because my DMs are full with the CFL stuff, but it's the stuff on the NFL. And I put out there to our friends from Yorkton, who are the Broncos fans, right? And on Twitter, or on Facebook, that the Broncos play the Titans Monday Night Football Week 1. Are you excited? Let's go. Kurt and Amy, right?
Yeah.
And
they're from Lumsden.
Sorry, Lumsden.
Yeah.
Not the Yorkton guys, but from Lumsden. And they're excited, but I got people messaging me, Darren, don't you know there's not going to be any sports this year? Don't you know there's not going to be a season? I've got all these Vikings
They don't
fans,
even think that there's going to be games.
like Peter Labardius and Kelly Rempel and Craig Smith, because the Titans and the Vikings play this year. That's the divisional matchups, AFC, NFC. So they play in September, late September. And so, you know, they highlighted that for me, and we're talking road trip, and everyone's like, there's not going to be a game. Well, I refuse to not be optimistic. If they're putting out a schedule and planning for it, why can't we?
Right. Okay, cool. And so we'll dive into the NFL stuff primarily with Jim Lang in hour two, because he is Canada's foremost expert on the 4-down game. But our poll question comes out of my quick six show topics, so maybe I'll just jump into that. Number one, Randy Ambrosie grilled at the House of Commons last night. He did his presentation as to why Ottawa should give the CFL federal aid, and then he got rope-a-doped by some MPs, one of which is a close friend of ours, Kevin Waugh. I was a little surprised that Wagger, a former and long time highly decorated sportscaster, would kind of take an anti-CFL stance. However, I also understand why he did. I've had significant government relations myself in the mental health and addiction side, so I know how this all goes. So we'll get into that. Can you put the comment up from Don in Ottawa, by the way, Clark, as we roll it? I don't know if it's too hard to find. He said it's snowing in Ottawa this morning.
Whoa.
So think about that. Point two.
Maybe.
You got it up? Hang on. You got it. Here it is from Donald Mitchell, the Navy man in Ottawa. Happy Friday, gang. Snowing here in Ottawa this morning. Must be in response to the grilling that Randy got from the House of Commons last night. We need some frenzy to lighten the mood. Oh, John. I drove by his house. He's got thoughts, by the way. Just hang on. Back up. I said, lower your expectations. We got 2 hours to get through all of this, so just calm down. Yes, right. Woosah. Point 2, should the NFL fund the CFL? Frankly, I've been saying this for years, and every time I do, I face the firing squad. But now's the time. How much ego do you need to display or burn until you're finally on your knees, which is where the CFL is now, to realize that you do need the help, whether it be from Ottawa, from the NFL? What's it going to take? So we'll come back on that. Point 3, how did the NFL and the NHL blow by the CFL in history? It was before you guys were born. I might ask Lynch this, but for the longest time, the CFL actually paid more than the NFL. That's how we got stars like George Reed and Ron Estee, some of those great 60s and 70s era players, even into the early 80s. They'd actually paid more than the NFL, the Canadian Football League. Back that up. Huh?
Yeah.
That's true. And the NHL, like in the 80s, the Eskimos and the Oilers made the same amount of money. Those guys used to hang out all the time. They were buds. Now, the Oilers are hiring the Eskimos to change their flat tires. You know what I mean? Or like do a tire rotation. What changed? How did that happen?
Yeah.
A lot of it's marketing. I think a lot of it is lobbying on behalf of the players and the unions to get more money. But at one point, they were all even, and then those other leagues just went, poof.
Yeah.
And the CFL stayed where they are. What happened there? I was in elementary school. I said you weren't born yet, but I was in elementary school. It's not really my thing. Maybe Lynch can help on that.
You got to invest, and it's tough when you're having success to not invest in the product and R&D. I mean, people, and I've seen it in business all the time. Well, you're doing this, but we didn't make any money on it, so why are we doing it?
Right.
It's R&D. That's why Google has nap pods, and they have specific time during the day where you go and mess around. Play with whatever you want, try whatever you want, build whatever you want. I don't care if it never comes to light. But 1 out of 100 ideas will come to light, and it's going to make your company take off like a rocket. You have to invest in continuing to grow.
What am I pointing at? U.S. television contract? Thank you, Paul. And Don says Pete Rozelle, who was the commissioner of the NFL at the time, and 300 million people versus 30 million people. Yeah, but they had the population density and the television contracts even in the 60s and 70s that the CFL did. There's more to it than that, other than the right people lobbying on behalf of the players. But it's not just what the players made, it's what the leagues made. I guess smart business people. I'm open. I don't know. You guys have a few more trips around the sun than I do, so you might be right. Is there any way that the CFL can catch up in any regard? That's something that needs to be investigated here, and I'll get to that. Point 4, Travis Lulay leaving the BC Lions, going into the family business in Oregon. Sad for the CFL and the BC Lions. Good for Travis. If he's happy, we're happy. He's coming on the show Monday, Clark tells me. The redhead gingers sticking together over there. Clark and Travis Lulay. Point 5, the NFL schedule release. We'll come back around on that more with Jim Lang later. 6, Korean baseball scores. It was night 4, I believe, last night. Just so you know, you might owe Dunk lunch. Justin Dunk's Heroes beat your Eagles 5-3. Jordan's Wiz won. They got their first win. The Wiz won last night. 12-3 over Clark's Bears. So, Clark, you're buying Jordan lunch today. The Lions beat the Tigers 5-0. Craig Smith's Twins, our director of scouting, they lost 13-5 to the Dinos, but the Twins still have the hottest cheerleaders, as pointed out by Craig.
So they're always going to win.
Right. And my Sask Wyverns lost 9-8 to the Giants in a real slugfest. And the slugging leader so far, your Eagles.
Yep.
Kwang Min Song.
Yeah.
His batting average dropped to .667.
Okay, I was going to check.
Coming out of last night's
I didn't look
games.
at the box score to see his line last night.
Yeah. But from the Wyverns, Dong Min Han continues to lead the Korean Baseball League in homers. We call him the Big Donger down there with the Wyverns, and he did not homer last night in that 9-8 loss, but he still leads the league in homers. And the Giants' Seop Sun has taken over the RBI lead. He has surpassed Dixon Machado. He's now got 5 RBIs.
Okay.
You understand how happy I am. I get up in the morning and I search the Korean Baseball League scores. I'm becoming part of it.
That's good. I'm getting into it, too.
Are you?
I got to find a nickname for Kwang, though. The batting average leader.
Kwang Min Song.
Yeah, Kwang Min Song.
You get on that and get back to me.
QMS.
Can we put up the Trent in Norway comment, folks? Try to condense your thoughts, Trent. He says, Norway calling. That's not that big. It was not cool of the House of Commons committee to treat Ambrosie as they did, even though they asked hard questions and said the CFLPA and the league must work together. Both parties must do R&D and actually grow the game, as Darren said. Stay well and have a good weekend. That's from Trent chiming in from Norway. This show gives them a little taste of home every day. So those are our quick 6 show topics. Going back to topic 1 about Randy Ambrosie being grilled at the House of Commons. And I mentioned that Kevin Waugh, who is a close friend of ours, both yours and mine, basically said, hey, wait a minute. I thought that the CFL was the stronger than it's ever been. That's what we've been led to believe. Why do you need money? And 2 things on that. 1, I've lobbied the government for money, as I said, on behalf of mental health and addictions. And this is kind of what I've realized through several meetings with government officials. Everybody's got their hand out. Everybody. So tell us why you should get it. And the guy or gal or group that puts up the best argument gets the funds. I'll be honest with you. Last year, the province of Saskatchewan, the SAS Party, poured $30 million into mental health and addictions in that budget in the spring. And I was like, whoa. They put their money where their mouth is. But that was sort of the deal. You feel you need this money for, explain why. That's all Kevin Waugh was doing. Now, the second point on that is I am lobbying on behalf of the CFL because of what it's meant to me. I don't need to. I don't work in the league anymore, but it's given me most of what I have, and those are still all my friends. But there's things about the CFL that I don't like. Like Kevin Waugh says, I thought you were in better financial shape than you've been in years. Guys, that might also be true. That's just telling you how bad the finances of this league have been for a very long time. But the other thing, after 30 years in the media, Darren, and we talked about this in the morning meeting, people believe what you tell them. You know, like so many things have come to light in the last year just in my life and with what people know and what they don't know. And here's what I've realized about sport. Fans want to buy their tickets, go to the game and cheer, and they go back to their lives. They're not really paying attention to what's going on. They're not. So for Randy Ambrosie or the owners, and this is part of what I don't like, I'll call it masquerading as this big league and we're going to charge lots for the tickets and we pay our top guys this top money. You don't have the money. You're not big league, okay? And this the last month has shown it. Because I'm seeing the comments on social media, well, you can't have it both ways. Are you a big-time league or are do you have your hand out? What is it? Randy wasn't lying at any point. I do think their finances are better in a lot of ways than they've been for years, but they're still not strong. Randy wasn't lying up there either. He's not that kind of guy. I've spent enough one-on-one time with him. I love Randy Ambrosie. He's as honest and solid as they come. But he does represent the owners and governors and presidents that I'm not necessarily the biggest fan of. Randy's speaking for them. So I guess that's where I'm coming from on that. Don't think that because he was grilled that they're not going to get the money. It was how good of a job did Randy do of selling Ottawa and those 3 MPs as to why they should get funding. And now we sit and we wait.
Yeah. It's true. And I've worked in the nonprofit sector before. The CFL is not a nonprofit organization, I don't think. Correct?
It's a not-for-profit?
It's not a nonprofit, right?
No, it's a business. They're in the business to make money.
It's a business, but you know what your expenses are on a yearly basis. You know what your salaries are. You know what tickets bring in. So you have a pretty good idea of of where you're at, and you're happy. And with nonprofit organizations, like sports organizations, even in this province, you get money from the lotteries, you get money from the Sask Sport governing body, the organization, and you know what you're getting every year. So you allocate your salaries, you allocate this and you allocate that, and you put on your programs, and you go about your business. And not one of them look at revenue because they're a nonprofit. Well, a nonprofit doesn't preclude you from making money.
No.
It precludes you from turning a profit and putting money in your jeans. You can make more money and then do more. And the CFL and any business in any league shouldn't just sit back because they're comfortable. The revenue meets the expenses and everything's great, because when something bad happens, you turn into a situation like this where now you got your hands out and the only way to survive is to get a bailout from the government. You need to start worrying about how can we make money, how can we grow, what areas can we go into, and that has to be a daily conversation and a yearly strategic plan. It can't just be, we're going to continue to try and save money here and save money there, and we're going to continue to pay our guys when we know the revenue's coming in. You have to plan for these things. You have to continue to put money in the bank, and the CFL hasn't evolved enough or worried enough about that, I don't think, in the last number of years.
No, and that's a lot of what problems that I have with the CFL is they have not evolved. We all know that. And frankly, we talk about the marketing, I guess the TV deal, you guys talking about how the NFL and the NHL just left the CFL in the dust in the early 80s and how that was. I'm trying to think of marketing campaigns that the CFL has run that have stuck with you in the last 30 to 35 years. Frankly, people say during the Cohan era that marketing in the CFL was ignored and they just left it to the riders and their fans to market the league. And quite frankly, it actually worked in the Cohan era. But the last guy that I remember was Jeff Giles. And you guys probably don't remember that. He was the commissioner when I came in 1999. And it was under his watch that they came out with the Radically Canadian. Our balls are bigger. You actually started to see T-shirts across the land, not just here in Saskatchewan, but all across the country. Hats, jackets, T-shirts. It was a slogan that resonated. Our balls are bigger.
Yeah.
You remember that?
I do.
Radically Canadian players were still talking about it for years afterwards.
A little patch on the jerseys.
Right. And then you brought in Michael Lisko. That didn't last very long as commissioner. Then you brought in Tom Wright, who was great, but the owners couldn't control him, so they had to get rid of him. Then you had Cohan, and then Orridge, and now Randy Ambrosie. And I just don't really remember a marketing campaign that just would stick with you. And other than, diversity is strength, had all the great earmarks. And I think that was a residue from the Orridge era, to be perfectly honest with you. But other than that, there just hasn't been something that really sticks in the national conscience in 30 to 35 years.
And I think that's because there's been no longevity. And you think about that, there's a ton of good ideas. And a lot of those are really good ideas. But they're only good ideas if you double down on them and go all in. When you've got a different commissioner every year, every couple of years, one guy comes in and it's like, that was your idea? That's stupid. This is what we should do. And the next guy comes in and says, that was stupid. We should be doing this. And then you go zing, 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 and you have no clear direction on where the league's going or what the messaging is. But if you double down on something and sink into it, then it has a chance to become part of the fabric of your league and the fabric of this country. You have to commit to it.
Sorry to cut you. I got to get to some of these comments here. Sandra Larson says the "What We're Made Of" was one of the last most recent slogans. Yeah, it sucked. That didn't resonate with anybody. Simon Fudge is watching in Vancouver. He says, right on, guys. On the point that the CFL has not evolved as it needs in the last few years. Paul Totsky says the NBA TV contract is 9 years for $24 billion. Billion. Don't compare NBA finances in 2020 to the landscape of sports in the early 1980s. It's apples and oranges. We're talking about how did it happen then to get to where it is now. I think if the CFL had been marketed properly and had the right business people way back then, they could have been on American television. More than half the players are American, and they're college stars. What do you got?
Nelson's comment.
Nelson. Where? Oh, this is our league, and that video was the best thing they've ever produced. That's your opinion. I really liked it, too. Remember that? This is our league.
Yeah.
We've got a China Clipper. We've got a whatever it was. Yeah. And then Randy Ambrosie came out and said it wasn't inclusive. So everybody's going to sit and fight. Nobody can really agree with where this needs to go. And I haven't even got into the NFL funding the CFL yet, other than I kind of stopped on point 2 and said, you got to get over yourselves, Canada. You got to get over yourselves, CFL, and realize you're not the NFL. And if you've got the NFL paying your bills and you are a feeder team, what's there, 32 NFL teams, 9 Canadian teams?
Yep.
You have 9, I'm not great at math, but 4 NFL teams stock CFL rosters. And by the way, who cares? If the Bengals want to send Joe Burrow to Saskatchewan for 1 year of seasoning, you're going to get Joe Burrow, the hottest name in football right now. And you're only going to have him for a year because you're a farm league. You got to get over your ego and realize what you are. And this past month, Ambrosie's speech yesterday has proven That we're not bigger, stronger. They're not. The CFL's on its knees right now. And if you're not going to realize that you need help, I'm talking about the fans, because the owners have obviously realized it's not easy for them to go to Ottawa and plead for money. Believe me, ego is the way of the millionaires and billionaires. Not easy for them, but they did it.
Yeah.
So what are you going to do to fix it? And also, what are you going to do if and when Ottawa says no? Because there's a lot of people that are lobbying against the CFL getting money, so you better have a plan for that. John Frenzy, next. This is the rollout for Flooring Superstore and our friends at Flooring Superstore, the Dickin family. We love them like the Dickens. We're thinking of you, Rhonda. Our condolences from all the guys at this show with your loss, too. We'll be back in a moment. It's the Rod Pedersen Show. Football Friday. We're on Facebook Live, Game Plus TV Network, and listen live at rodpedersen.com.
You're watching Rod Pedersen On Demand. For more of The Rod Pedersen Show, visit rodpedersen.com or follow Rod Pedersen on social media.